Hey everyone, and welcome. So, as a senior data scientist, I spend a massive chunk of my day looking at how our enterprise teams actually interact with artificial intelligence. And I've got to be brutally honest with you, what I see a lot of is just amateur interaction. I mean, just last week alone, a vague prompt cost one of our engineering teams literally 3 days of cleaning up hallucinated financial data. We tend to just type in these vague, fleeting thoughts and cross our fingers, hoping the model gives us something usable back. But today, we're putting a stop to that. This explainer is built to be your highly practical, daily professional checklist. We are going to transform those casual chats into precise, enterprise-grade engineering commands, taking all the guesswork out of your daily AI workflows.
Okay, let's dive into this with a fundamental truth. The difference between a bad AI response and a truly great one is almost always the prompt. Think about it. When you get a fantastic, highly detailed production-ready output, it is absolutely never just luck. It's the direct result of structured, strategic input. Prompt engineering isn't about, tricking the system or hacking the algorithm. It's simply the skill of communicating effectively with a machine. If the input is rigorously engineered, the output is practically guaranteed.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover structured prompts versus raw text, diagnose some common daily mistakes, dig into my top 5 prompting techniques, look under the hood at system behavior, and then wrap up with a real-world production case study.
All right, Section 1. Structured prompts versus raw text. This is all about moving from amateur inputs to engineered commands.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. This summary table breaks down the core differences perfectly. When we just use raw natural language, our input style is basically just random text and vague requests. The context is entirely missing, or we just assume the AI magically knows what we mean, which inevitably leads to completely unpredictable and inconsistent outputs. But when we switch to structured prompts, it's a totally different ballgame. Instead of tossing a wall of text at the model, we use clear sections and headings. It makes it infinitely easier for the AI to parse. We provide explicit background context. By applying these structures, our output goes from a total roll of the dice to something that is highly controlled and formatted, which is exactly what we need for strategic deployment across large corporate teams.
Moving on to Section 2. Common daily prompting mistakes. Let's diagnose some of these frequent failures in our daily tasks.
Look at the stark contrast in this before and after example. On the left side, we have a notoriously terrible, ambiguous prompt, explain marketing. The AI has absolutely zero idea if you want a collegiate textbook definition, a historical overview of the industry, or if you're just trying to get it to do your SEO homework for you. But on the right side, we eliminate that ambiguity right out of the gate. Explain digital marketing basics for beginners in simple language. Good prompting is always about precision, not making things overly complex.
So as we build out this daily checklist, let's quickly run through the absolute most frequent mistakes people make so you can avoid them. First up, as we just saw, are ambiguous prompts that lack precision. Second is overloading context. You know when someone tries to dump a massive, totally unfiltered 50-message email chain into the prompt? The model just gets totally confused and loses focus. And third, weak instructions. If you don't specifically tell the AI the exact format, the length, or the tone you want, you are literally guaranteeing a vague output.
All right, Section 3, the top 5 prompting techniques. Consider this your official data scientist toolkit.
Technique number 1 is honestly a lifesaver. It's really a combination of 3 distinct shortcuts that will make your prompt structure and development so much faster. Whenever you kick off a prompt, you need to establish the role. Tell the AI exactly who it should be acting as, like, act as a senior data scientist. Next, define a clear task. For example, explain neural networks. And finally, lock in your constraints and output format, like specifically telling it to use bullet points. This exact 3-part anatomy forms the bedrock of every advanced technique we're going to use.
Now for technique number 2, few-shot prompting. This is super straightforward but incredibly powerful. It just means giving the AI model a few structured examples before you actually ask it to perform the target task. It's exactly like showing a brand new hire a completed, perfectly filled out template before asking them to create one from scratch themselves. It dramatically improves consistency and quality because the AI learns your specific pattern instantly.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can apply few-shot prompting specifically for classification tasks by giving the AI a clear question-to-answer pattern right up front. The second we introduce a new question, the AI precisely predicts our exact target answer style. This is an absolute must-have technique for those repetitive daily corporate workflows where you need the format to match exactly every single time without fail.
Technique number 3 is chain of thought prompting. Now, when an AI system is struggling with a really complex professional task, the best fix is to force it to think step by step. You present the complex problem, but then you append a very specific, literal command at the end, step by step, and explain your reasoning. By forcing the AI to slow down and generate those intermediate logic steps, you drastically improve its reasoning capabilities for things like advanced coding or complex data analysis. Plus, it gives you a highly accurate answer that you can actually trace back and debug if needed. Moving right along to Technique 4, reflection prompting. This is where you actually leverage the model to proofread its own work. Once you've mastered the basics we just talked about, prompting truly shifts into being an engineering skill. By commanding the AI to review your answer and improve clarity, you intentionally trigger a powerful self-correction loop. It's incredibly effective to have the AI review and refine its own outputs before you ever accept the final result.
And rounding out our top 5 is forcing structured outputs. Listen, in production AI systems, we absolutely have to have machine-readable formats. If your output goal is feeding a data pipeline, you command the AI to output strictly in JSON, so you can seamlessly integrate it with your corporate apps. For data analysis, you command it to generate tables for structured reports. And for executive summaries, you lock in those bulleted lists for standardized internal communication. Forcing these specific formats is not negotiable for true, large-scale corporate deployment.
Section 4. Controlling AI system behavior. Time to look under the hood for a minute.
You know, this instruction hierarchy is exactly how AI platforms maintain their consistency. At the very top, holding the absolute highest priority, is the system prompt. This is usually hidden away from you, but it's what defines the baseline tone, the personality, and the crucial safety guardrails of the AI. Next down the ladder are the developer instructions, and sitting right at the very bottom, with the lowest priority of all, is your user prompt. Understanding this hierarchy really explains why system prompts are the secret sauce that makes tools like ChatGPT feel like such a reliable, consistent assistant behind the scenes.
And finally, Section 5, our case study on production deployment and scaling these prompts across large corporate teams.
Let's move to and see how this builds in the real world. Because honestly, you rarely get a perfect output in one single shot on a complex project. It's an iterative process. First, you send your initial structured draft, using those clear headings and tight constraints we talked about. Second, you apply reflection and review. You literally ask the AI to evaluate its own first draft against your specific parameters. And third, you refine that into a polished, professional final output. This iterative refinement is the secret to completely rescuing a complex project. It turns a rough first pass into a reliable, high-quality, production-ready asset.
So the crucial point is captured perfectly right here in this final before and after comparison. The left side is just crossing its fingers and leaving everything to chance, but the right side, that is engineered. It establishes a role, it defines a clear task, it locks in constraints, and it specifies an output format. A structured, constrained, and explicit prompt is going to win against raw natural language every single time.
So I want to leave you with this thought. Take a hard look at the workflows you and your enterprise teams are running right now. Are your daily corporate AI prompts leaving quality completely up to chance? Or are you engineering success right from the very first input? Start utilizing this checklist today. Structure your commands using clear headings, test out these top 5 techniques, and just watch how fast the quality of your AI outputs transforms. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.